Hi, Raynelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing? How you feeling?
Welcome to Sound Pollution. I'm so happy
Thank you
that you
so
are
much.
here.
Very happy to be here. I'm George, artist name The Agency, which is kind of a play on my last name, which is Ajan. But people more than happy to have people call me George. If one day I become as famous as Sting, then I will, I guess, insist to be pretentious and that you'll have to call me by my artist name. But I'm essentially a singer-songwriter, releasing my own material. I work with professional musicians in a studio, so I don't have particularly good skill on playing any instrument. I write songs using the piano or the guitar, but then I've decided rather than invest my time trying to get good enough to play parts to my satisfaction, it's better to hire people who do this for a living and have perfected their craft. And so I work in
Fair.
that kind of a context. I released my first album of material, which was an album of mashup covers.
Mhm.
That was in 2023, 2024. And the reason I did that was because I'm in my late 40s. I've been writing songs since I was a teenager. And I always had the dream to release my own material. And nowadays, as much as people complain and bitch about the industry, it's really amazing that regular people with a reasonable, very modest budget can put out really, really good product. And
Agree.
so I'm actually
Agree.
happy with the state of things as they are right now. But because I waited my whole life to do this, thinking that it was going to cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars, which it doesn't, it's a fraction of
Right.
that. I thought, all right, I don't want to go knowing nothing about how a recording studio works and take my babies that I've been sitting on for 25 or 30 years into the studio. So I thought, all right, while I learn how all of this works, let me do some covers. And
Right.
look, all the great bands got started doing covers too.
That's
So
true.
I thought, you know what, the track record, because I'm work functioning basically in the pop rock idiom. And so,
Mhm.
the bands of the 60s and 70s nurtured me musically. And so I kind of model myself after what they did. And all those guys started with covers. So I went up put out these mashup covers, and a lot of people were kind of angry, like, oh, these purists, oh, how could you take this song? How could you take a song by King Crimson and mash it up with a song by Taylor Swift? I said, listen, guys, King Crimson got started covering Gustav Holst's
Yeah.
Mars. If they weren't sacrilegious in their own beginning, they never would have gotten to the place where they inspired us and their music rose to such heights. And so I thought, okay, in my own modest way, I'm going to follow their example. So I did that. I learned a lot. I figured out what musicians I work best with. And
Mhm.
now I'm working on releasing my own material, which I'm really, really excited about. I got a lot of stuff in the pipeline for the next coming years.
Awesome. Tell us about your music, about your music now.
Well, I've been writing songs, as I said. Some of them I've wrote when I was a teenager. Some of them I've written, in the last year. And I kind of, when I write, it's kind of the typical, I guess, not that I'm comparing myself to the skill of Brian Wilson, but I love when Brian Wilson talks about how he writes.
Uh-huh.
It very much resonates with me because it's very much the way that I write, which is he'll go to the piano or the guitar and start with some kind of a chord sequence or something like that.
Mhm.
And then some melody kind of emerges and you make up some words to help you remember the melody. And then as you keep fleshing that out, it develops more. You figure out maybe what the lyrics are, you refine the melody a little bit, and then you get more clarity on the chords and the rhythm and all of that. And then maybe what I'll do is if it starts on the piano, then I'll pick up the guitar and start playing the same sequence on the guitar. And then sometimes things change because just each instrument has its own characteristics. You might change the
Mhm.
key, you might change the rhythm, you might change certain fingerings on the guitar or certain voicings on the piano that you can't get on the guitar will change the way the song develops. And it kind of goes like that. I'm not a poet. I'm not the kind of guy who goes with a written script and says, okay, these are the lyrics. Now I'm going to put music to these lyrics. It's almost always the other way around. It starts with a musical idea and then words kind of flow out of that. So that's kind of how I write. But then what I'll do is when I'm going into a studio, I will have kind of a demo, even if that's just me with, in the old days, it would be that little cassette recorder sitting on the edge of the piano or sitting on the bed and just playing the
Mhm.
guitar. And so what I'll do is I'll have some kind of a demo. Nowadays, it's, with the computer, you can have it all fleshed out. And now with Suno and these AI tools, you really don't even need a band. I mean, I don't work with that. I haven't done any of that stuff yet because I
Okay.
still like the old fashioned way of doing things. I will go with, a chord chart that matches a demo, and then we'll go
Uh-huh.
in the studio, and then it's up to the band to figure out with direction from the songwriter, of
Right.
course, how they want it to go. And so that's kind of how I function.
What do you think is successful for you in your recording process? Because sometimes people go in with what you said. Okay, I've got this. We're going to flush it out. Then the band does this. But that doesn't always go as planned.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So what do you do in those situations?
Okay, so I think you have to go in as prepared as possible. And I always say this, you've got to have a good chart and a demo. You have to know what the song is. The
Okay.
last thing anybody's listening to this that's let's say a few years behind me time wise, and like I'm thinking about going to the studio. So whenever I do interviews like this right now, I always try
Mm.
to tell people, please learn from what I did right and what I did wrong.
Okay.
And one of the things that I always tell people is know what the song is. Do not go in there and think that you're going to be inspired when you're in the studio paying
No,
hundreds of dollars an
practice
hour to these
first.
people. You
Yes.
don't want to do that.
It's
You want to know
expensive.
what key you're in. You want to know what the melody is. You know,
Facts.
now things will evolve and the
Yes.
musicians will have other ideas to give you, but you don't want to go in there and say, oh, actually, I don't know what happens after the bridge. You don't want to do that because
No.
these people are professionals and they are paid to give you give them direction and they make it happen. You are not, this is not, 1969 and you're a bunch of 20-year-old kids living in the back of a van and you're going to spend a week in the, making an album because you have nothing better to do with your life.
Right.
Like
No.
you are a person who's hiring professionals who have to go home and cook dinner after they finish your session. So
Yes.
they're not in it, with all their heart and soul. Now, they will give you their best, but they don't function the way you look at your
And they're
old.
also not your co-writers.
They're
You wrote
not.
it. Right.
They're not. You wrote it, and so you have to give them direction. So I think what the right thing to do is be as prepared as possible.
Mm.
But sometimes it's the feel is not right. So for example, there's a track that I worked on, which was actually it was a poem of Pablo Neruda, the Chilean poet, from a series of poems he wrote called The Sonnets of Love and Death. And there's an Argentinian tenor named Jose Cura, who's mostly known as an operatic singer. And he put out this beautiful album, which he dedicated to Argentinian songwriters. And one of the pieces was he wrote basically an orchestral score to this Neruda poetry. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And I thought, I want to do that in a rock context. And so I brought that to the guys and I had to spend time and money figuring out the transcription because it was kind of an orchestral score and it's very jazz
It's difficult.
oriented.
Yeah.
And so we had all that, but when I go back and listen to it now, it feels flat.
It's not right.
It doesn't
It's
have
not
life. It feels
right.
like kind of a sappy jazz arrangement, which is not at all my style. I didn't like it. So I've got to figure that out. I've got to go back to the studio with another band or another set of musicians or with new direction. And so you have to be open to the idea that things don't always go as you planned. And that might be a setback, but you've got to learn from it. You can't go in there thinking that everything's going to be perfect because there are always going to be things that don't go right. And that goes back to why it's good to start out with covers because you learn the rudimentary errors early on so that you
Yeah.
don't repeat those. So if you get through avoiding the major errors, then things are manageable. But don't go in there expecting perfection. And like anything else in life, if things happen perfectly the first time and you're thrilled with the result, it's probably dumb luck. And that's
It's
very
not going to happen
dangerous.
again.
Right, because next
It's
time
not
you go
gonna
and
happen
go,
again.
okay, now I'm going to go and do I'm going to invest in 10 songs. We're going to book the studio for a week. And then you find out, oh, crap, this isn't as easy as I thought it was.
No.
Things are not going the right way. So, learn from, it's good that things go wrong.
Learn from the mistakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
use them. Use them. What inspires you?
My kids. When you're
Same.
when you're a teenager, you write songs about the girl you have a crush on and all of that. And that's fine. I mean, the old love song still comes out from time to time, but the songs, some of the songs that I've written recently are kind of love songs to my kids. So two of those were released in the past year. My older son Michael turned 14. I released a song called Proud to Be, that song was written when he was just a baby and he was my firstborn. And so it was kind of like that awe-inspiring feeling, like, I can't believe this is actually real, like that this human being is in my arms and it came from me.
Mhm.
And that shocking moment when you're like, am I ready for this? Can I even handle all of this? And so it was kind of dedicated to that. And the thought that I'm going to do my best. And then I hope one day you'll be proud. When you look back, you'll be proud of the dad that I was. Because as parents, we always look and say, oh, we're proud of our kids and all of that. But, this was kind of looking at the flip side, which is, are we going to be parents that make our kids proud of us?
Mm.
And then the other one, my son Jude turned 11 this year. That song I wrote when he was about 2. And it was kind of a joyful
Is
song
that the
about
Jude and I?
Jude and I. So
Yeah,
that
let's
was kind
talk
of
about
like,
that one.
you're 2 years old and, I love you so much and it's so much fun having this 2-year-old, but he's not quite old enough. Like you can make him laugh. He'll
Oh,
give
that's
you
the
a
best
hug
part.
and a
Yeah.
kiss,
Yeah.
but he doesn't quite understand. You can't explain to him in words how much I love you and how much I would sacrifice for you and how much you mean to me. And so the idea was, let me put this in a song so that when he's old enough, he will understand all of that. And that was really interesting musically because I wrote that song on the ukulele, which I'd never written a song on the ukulele before, but
I
somehow it
just
just,
did that recently too. It was just
oh, really?
random. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
sitting there and I was like, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
I
So it
had a
kind of
little bit of
happened like
red
that.
wine and I was like,
Yeah.
we're going to do this. We're going to do this on the back porch and we're going to write a song about how messed up my love life is on a ukulele. We're doing it now. And it was, I'm sure the neighbors loved me.
Oh, okay. It's funny you saying just love that sound because the kid's mom
Uh-huh.
hates like nails on a chalkboard the sound of the ukulele.
Yep,
Like
my daughter doesn't like it either. She
Oh my
says it's
God.
too fucking happy. She hates
Yes.
it.
Oh God. So yeah. Plus the other thing right now is that, you've only got four strings there. So like to
Yeah,
get some color and some harmonically interesting stuff, it's a little bit challenging. So,
it is.
I managed to make it into something nice. But then when I took that to Fernando Perdomo, who's this amazing guitarist based out of LA that's kind of like my right hand with all this stuff because like I said, I function in the rock idiom. And so, I believe in the guitar.
Yes.
And I still believe in the guitar solo. And so
Oh, I love
when I go
it.
to Fernando and I'm like, I need you to put all your soul and this is what I'm conveying in the song and I need your guitar to say what I can't say in words. Whether that's happiness or sadness or longing or disappointment or anguish or whatever that happens to be. And he very much gets that because we have very similar musical tastes. So I came to him with like I said, with a demo, just me and the ukulele and the chart, and he turned it into a proper band thing. He put a drum beat and bass and acoustic guitar, and then I added a piano part to that, and it turned into like a proper indie rock
Yeah.
song, which I had just started as just like a little ditty on the ukulele. So I was really happy with how all that turned out.
Once upon a time, a stork swooped down from the sky, revealed when he brought Jude secrets that I never knew. I smiled, a blessing in my life. I cried, tears of joy for Jude and I. The math is quite confused. A parent's love divides by two, yields greater than the half. Can a baby boy who loves to laugh retain the words her father says? Should I just wrap him in my arms instead? Your mother's fears, a love she can't contain. Embrace her and appreciate what I will teach you all I can. Think me a hero, but I'm just a man. When life puts up a fight, stand tall and you'll prevail despite the strength that you may lack. If your brother has your back as one to face a burning flame, be brave
It's a very
So yeah, so
sweet
coming back to your
song.
question, yeah, thank you. I mean, the kids inspire me, and the other song that's coming out as soon as I finish the mixing and mastering is called Magdalulu, which is actually that was inspired by my niece who's named Magdalena, and it was a song that I wrote when she was just a baby, and it was kind of one of those songs that you just make up and you sing in the family, like when we're all
Yeah.
sitting around. And the song was just about like, oh, look at this cute little girl, and she has these chubby little thighs that you just want to pinch them. And then I thought, a friend of mine who from college who became a pediatrician, and she said something to me that resonated with me and has stuck with me all the way through, which is to say, as a pediatrician, she's like, George, whenever you meet a little girl, try your hardest not to tell her how cute she is or how pretty she is or her dress or her hair ribbons in her hair or whatever.
Yes.
Tell her how brave she is, how smart she is, how talented she is, because by doing the opposite, you reinforce.
Absolutely.
Okay, men and women are different,
Whatever. But
yes, we are different, but expecting that women are just supposed to be valued because of how they look, you're reinforcing that when you tell a girl, you're so pretty and you're so cute. Well, maybe she's smart or talented or she can play the guitar.
you
or
could
whatever
say
it is,
she's
right?
pretty or cute, but like, can we
But there's
follow
more to
it
it
or
than that.
before
Yes.
it? Yes.
Yes. So I thought, okay, instead
have
of like
enough
transform
pressure.
this,
Yeah, women have
from
enough
like a
pressure.
little song about a cute little girl, I turned it into like, okay, this is a girl who's going to defy all the odds and she's going to become a superhero because she freaking can if she wants to.
That's right.
Right? So the song was kind of about girl power. And it turned into just like this little thing on the acoustic
It's really
guitar.
funky.
It turned into like a yacht
great.
rock, funky
It
kind
does.
of arrangement.
The piano arrangement's really funky and cool. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a good song.
I'm really happy with that sound. But one of the tricks is, which we'll get into another thing, which is like how to market your own music when you're an upcoming singer-songwriter. And it's like not all my songs sound the same. They have very different vibes to them. And until I have enough of a body of work, it's kind of hard to figure out how to place myself. Because if you figure, oh, what are the hashtags and what are the artists that sound like you? Okay, let's say I find somebody that sounds like, for example, Jude and I, people have said that has a Wilco kind of vibe to it. I'm like, okay, so I can go and market myself to Wilco fans, but that's the only song of mine that sounds like Wilco. So, it's really hard. What I found out is that it's as much work to figure out how to market yourself as an artist as it is to write and record the songs.
Right. Marketing and social media, that is a whole nother piece of the puzzle that, maybe it's 20 years old, but it's still new if you think about it.
It is new.
And when you're an independent artist and you have to do, so now you're doing the writing, you're doing the singing, you're doing the recording, but there's no business manager as an independent artist. And there never really has been, but like, it used to be you just went to the clubs at night, here's my demo, blah, 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 talk to a few people. And now you're like, I have to do that and I have to post every day. I have to market every day. I have to return the emails every day. I have to return. And it's a whole nother job on top of a whole nother job on top of a whole nother job.
On top of the fact
exhausting.
that I'm 49 years old and I've also got to work for a living to pay for all this stuff. And I got to cook dinner for my kids and drive them to soccer practice. And it's like, so again, coming back to, people
Brent
say,
talks
have you
about that
thought
all
about
the
doing
time.
this? Have you tried to do this? And I'm like, I only have a certain amount of discretionary time.
I have this much time.
And I'm not going to spend it getting good at the guitar. Like I will spend it figuring out how to, and the thing is to market the stuff, you have got to go and spend hours listening to other artists because people
don't know
say,
them all.
like, what's the most common thing that an indie rock artist will hear? Oh, your music reminds me of the Beatles. Well, thank you so much. Like every band that's ever existed since the 1960s has been told you sound like the Beatles. And guess what?
Because the
People
Beatles
who
were
love
so
the Beatles
influential.
are not looking for me.
No.
So I got to find people who are on the hunt for new and upcoming artists now, and they are not meets the eye. Like, yes, if you're playing some gig in town, yes. But if you're not doing that, yes, it's wonderful that the internet allows you to reach anybody in the world, but how do you reach the people that are looking for you? And I still haven't cracked that nut yet.
A lot of us are still working on that. A lot of the artists I've interviewed, a lot of the artists me and Brent have interviewed have been, they talk about that. And like our last episode, he was like, I, got on here to market myself. And now I just do it for fun and jokes. And it was like, that's what brought people in. And so now I have to do both. And it's this fun thing, but it's still a lot of work.
Yeah.
People don't realize it. It is a lot of work. And for us who are a little bit older, we're like, holy shit, what do we do? So yeah, it's a lot.
It
And
is.
we'll crack the code. And then as soon as we crack it, it'll change. Because
Yes.
social media is growing and changing and evolving.
A child so cool they could not understand. Like Lulu, she defied all their rules. She laid waste to their plans. Mad Lulu, Mad Lulu. Her style broke the mold. Now they feign to compete with Mad Lulu. No diamonds, no gold will be laid at the feet of Mad Lulu. Mad Lulu. There is nothing that you can do, Mad Lulu. She's a hero, as she came to prove. Mad Lulu. She collects all the clues. Now she's solving the crime. Mad Lulu. She built a ladder to the moon, and she knocked it from the sky. Ooh, knocked it from the sky. There is nothing that you can do, Mad Lulu. She's a superhero, as she came to prove. Mad Lulu. Set the girl free, now she's coming alive. She's saving the world as she breathes, as she flies. Magdalulu, 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 Magdalulu. She's a superhero. She's a superhero. Magdalulu, Magdalulu, Magdalulu. No diamonds, no gold will be laid at her feet. Will be laid at her feet.
But who are your musical influences specifically to
Okay,
you?
so I grew up born in the mid 70s. So I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So I was a kid in the 80s when you don't really have musical taste yet. Your musical taste is whatever is on the radio, whatever your parents play in the house. So we had, in the morning, I grew up in the New York metropolitan area. So there was 95.5, Scott Shannon or was that Elvis Duran? No, it was Scott Shannon in the morning, which was the pop station. So Michael Jackson and Huey Lewis in the News and Madonna and whatever, right? That was
Right.
the ubiquitous pop music of the 80s. And then, so it was 95.5 WPLJ and there was Z100, the Z Morning Zoo. Those are the pop stations. But then my parents, they were 60s, 50s, and 60s kids. And so I grew up with oldies, especially from my mom, and, the Beatles and kind of rock music. When I became a teenager, I you start developing your own musical taste. And I realized I really like this kind of classic rock thing, but I really like this progressive rock, like the rock that came out of the experimentation of Sgt. Pepper and went more like into blending with classical music and, these longer songs that were kind of like reflected classical arranging and
Like
taking
Queen, stuff like
yeah,
that.
Queen and
Yeah.
like, Yes and King Crimson and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And the songwriting got more sophisticated and lots of key changes and different time signatures and like kind of a more highbrow kind of rock music. That's the stuff that really spoke to me as a teenager.
Yeah.
The problem is that over the years, that became very derivative. And so you have this whole genre of prog, which I don't relate to at all because it's just like, let's keep copying this stuff that they did. I'm like, but that was cool in 1972. I mean, that's
Right.
because they were being they weren't just deliberately trying to do that. And so I love those bands, but my music, people who know them will say, yeah, I hear that in your music, but I'm writing 4-minute songs. I'm not writing 20-minute songs for the sake of it. So, and then the other interesting thing is that things that influenced you that you don't even realize will come out. So one of the tracks that I did that's released that will be bundled in my first album was a cover of the Extreme song "More Than Words" from
Oh my God, that's
1990.
one of my favorite songs ever.
Okay, so I grew up. We all grew up listening to that song and learning on the guitar with that
Such
slap.
a good song.
Right? But with age, you look back on certain things, you're like, wait a second, that song isn't what I thought it was, because it sounds like this happy song about a guy saying, more than words can say how much I love you. Actually, what the song is saying is, all I get from you are the words I love you, and I don't get anything else from you. And this relationship is doomed because all it is you saying I love you every time there's a crisis, and that's not enough for me. I need more than that.
Oh,
So
I
thought,
didn't get that from that song.
yeah, go back and listen to it. So what I did was said, all right, I'm going to put this on the piano instead of the guitar and kind of
Okay.
reharmonize it and make it kind of a much darker kind of a feel. And so I did that. And when I was doing the vocals, the engineer of the session was like, this kind of reminds me of like a Disney arrangement. And I was so freaking pissed off. I'm like, Disney?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a rock artist. How dare you say that my music reminds me of Disney? But then I thought, you know what? When I was a teenager, I was in the drama club. I did musical theater. And so I think subconsciously that,
You pulled
and I
it
hear
in.
like that's evident in the way I arrange the song. Like, I don't explicitly identify that musical theater is one of my influences, but it's in there.
Yeah.
So you got to be, I think as an artist, you got to be open when people tell you your music reminds me of such and such. And you might be like, oh God, no. But maybe it's in there without you noticing it.
No, yeah. When is the next album going to be released? And where can our listeners find your music?
Okay. So I'm doing what they call the waterfall strategy, which is you release an album single by single, 6 weeks at a time.
Okay.
And then at the end, you can package it on, because it's all digital, right? You can package
Right.
it however you want, right? Then you bundle it together. So there's the first half of the album is out already. The second half will start being released in, because there's a Christmas song that I put out last year that will be promoted in
Yeah,
December.
yeah, that makes
This will
sense.
come out probably early in the year, right? This episode.
This will come out before the end of the year. Is
Okay,
the goal.
so
Yeah.
so when this episode airs, there'll be a Christmas song that I'll be promoting, and then in the beginning of 2026, for the first couple months of the year, will be the last 4 tracks that will comprise the first full album. And so the agency, AJJANCY, and that's my tag everywhere. The misery that is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all the Apple Music, all those places. It's
We're
the only
everywhere.
artist under that name, and you'll find there all the singles that I've put out, and eventually we package as an album. And then on the YouTube page, you will find what I mentioned earlier, which is the Mashups album.
What advice would you give a new young musician?
You got to focus on having good songs, and that's the main thing, because all it comes down to, yes, you can be great at marketing, you can be great at making videos and all that stuff, but in the end, if you don't have a song that resonates with people, it's not going to matter.
Gonna matter.
And you do this for yourself. Like when I was young, okay, you have a crush on the girl and you say, oh, I wrote this song for you. No, you didn't write it for her. When you're older, you realize I wrote this song for me to process how I feel about you, or how I feel about the world, or how I feel about whatever. You do the music that makes you happy and makes you fulfilled, even if nobody ever hears it.
Right.
And if other people hear it and they like it, then that's a side effect.
Bonus
But you know
points.
what? If it means something to you, I guarantee you somebody else will find meaning in it. So make the music that makes you feel fulfilled as an artist. You got to do it for yourself, not for anybody else. And I'm certainly not the first nor the last that said that. But it's very easy to fall into the trap of, let me do things that people are going to like. No, do what makes you happy, what makes you feel good, and something that you'd be proud of. And I guarantee you there's going to be people out there that are going to love
Excuse
it.
me. I'm so sorry. That's great. Great advice. Thank you so much for coming on the show and rescheduling
Thank
with me
you.
4 times. I feel so bad.
No, I'm
Thank you
equally
so
guilty
much.
of that.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. We appreciate your time. If you're getting anything out of this, if it gives you the feels, the good feels, if you could like, follow, subscribe, share, send in snail mail. Let everyone know that you like this and talk about why you like it. Let us know when we post, hey, this was my favorite episode by y'all guys.
Get out there and remember to make
Make
some
some noise.